Okay, good day, everybody. My name is Albert Gabriel, and I am joined with two of my colleagues, Justice and EVA. So today we are going to be making a presentation on the comparative leadership analysis of two prominent leaders, which is Emmanuel Macron and Fumio Kishida. Next slide, please. So if you look at it, you're going to see that on the table of content slide, we will be looking at the profile review of these two leaders, as well as touching on some theoretical frameworks. And we are also going to be analyzing the two leaders based on their skills and trait attributes. And we are also going to talk about the comparative analysis of disruption versus stability on both Macron and Kishida. Also, we will be using the John Ada's model to further analyze these two leaders. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about. Next slide, please. So if we look at the profile to begin with, you're going to see that we have presented two prominent political figures. We have Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and we also have Fumio Kishida, who is the former prime minister of Japan. So looking at Emmanuel Macron, he came into power in 2017 as a centrist candidate and the founder of the political movement La République En Marche. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it very well, but so despite lacking the traditional political party base, he successfully positioned himself as a reformer and a visionary for a modernized France rather. So his presidency has been marked by bold reforms, pro-European Union rhetoric, and a technocratic style of governance. But on the other hand, Fumio Kishida, he served as Japan's prime minister from 2021 to 2024. He represented the Liberal Democratic Party. So Kishida took office during a period of global instability and domestic economic uncertainty. So he's known for his cautious and deliberative leadership. He's advocated for a new capitalism approach, emphasizing wealth redistribution and innovation, while he's also maintaining Japan's security stance amid regional tension. So we use these leadership theories to critically evaluate uh, the approaches to governance and decision making. So we're going to look at the theories in the next slide. Next slide, please. So looking at the theoretical framework, in order to better understand the leadership styles of Macron and Kishida, as I've earlier said, we have grounded our analysis in two theoretical frameworks. The first one is the trait theory. So this theory, it sees how effective leaders possess certain innate qualities, born qualities, such as charisma, decisiveness, emotional intelligence, and resilience. So these traits are, or like they are seen as natural characteristics that distinguishes leaders from followers. So the second one is the skill-based theory. Unlike the trait theory, this perspective actually emphasizes that a leader can actually learn and develop. So the skill, it can be learned or developed. So it focuses on competencies such as strategic thinking, communication, coalition building, and the ability to navigate complex political systems. So by applying these frameworks, we can systematically evaluate how Macron's and Kishida's traits and skills either contributed to or hindered their effectiveness within their respective political and cultural environments. Please, the next slide. So, looking at the key traits and attributes of Emmanuel Macron, we're going to see that President Emmanuel Macron has actually assessed, he has shown charisma and visionary appeal. So you see that Macron is widely recognized for his charismatic presence and ability to articulate a forward-looking vision for France and the European Union at large. So, according to Evans and Ibadi, you see that Macron's ability to inspire and mobilize support, especially as a political outsider, was very crucial to his initial rise to power. So looking at the decisiveness in crisis, for example, during the time of national and global crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic and the yellow vest, which was a big issue at that time, you see that Macron has often demonstrated firm decision making and clarity of direction, according to Zuba. So this assertiveness, though it's tough sometimes and polarizing, you see that it has reflected strong executive leadership. So you talk about adaptability and resilience. Macron has consistently shown the ability to adapt under political pressure. For example, managing strikes over pension reforms to navigating EU politics. He has maintained a strong policy stance while adjusting to shifting political demands. So as we talk about the good side, as a leader, you have some shortcomings as well. So one of them is perceived elitism and public disconnect. One of Macron's most criticized traits is that his perceived detachment from the public, often seen as is always favoring the elite circles and lacking empathy for the working class. So this has actually contributed immensely to a growing disconnect between him and some sections of his French electorate, so limiting his appeal beyond his core. Next slide, please. So here we'll be talking about the skills and strategic competence of Emmanuel Macron. So if we look at it, we're going to see that through this theory, we see a leader whose effectiveness stems from a combination of strategic thinking and policy execution. Number one, we're looking at ambitious policy implementation. Despite opposition, Macron's presidency has been marked by bold policy moves, including labor market reforms, pension restructuring, effort towards energy transition. Even in the face of mass protests and political backlash, he has remained committed to pushing reforms. So we also look at the coalition formation in a fragmented system. You see that France's political environment is actually fragmented, especially following the collapse of traditional parties. So Macron has skillfully built coalitions and alliances to pass key legislation, despite lacking an absolute majority in parliament. This is a true definition and demonstration of advanced negotiation skills. So we talk about charismatic but abstract communication. Macron is a strong orator. He's often delivering speeches with intellectual depth. But however, critics have argued and they've said that his communication can actually come across as too abstract or too academic, limiting resonance with broader public. So it's very, very difficult for them to really understand what he's saying, and this can be a major barrier in his communication skills. So you look at struggles balancing left-right expectation. As a centrist, Macron faces the dual challenge of managing expectation from both progressive and conservative voters. So this balancing act has made it very difficult for him to fully satisfy either end of the political spectrum. So occasionally, you will see that he's always stalling consensus or reducing policy clarity. So in summary, you see that Macron demonstrates both innate leadership and developed skills, but his effectiveness is sometimes offset by communication style and ideological balancing. So I will leave the next presentation for my colleague Justice to take over. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Justice Utome Ago. Today, I'll start by talking on Kishida's key traits and attributes. Firstly, Kishida's leadership style prioritizes collaboration and consensus, aligning with Japan's consensus-driven political culture. His emphasis on empathy and understanding is consistent with the emotional intelligence hypothesis, which improves his ability to interact with a variety of stakeholders. Kishida's conservative approach to policy making suggests a propensity for stability, which can be viewed as a quality that reduces leadership risks. Furthermore, Kishida's emphasis on consensus can promote inclusion. However, this feature may lead to indecision and criticism for failing to take a strong stand at that on crucial subjects. Then, while his cautiousness can prevent reckless mistakes, it may be interpreted as a lack of ambition or drive, all of which are required and essential for effective leadership. Fumio faced significant institutional constraints while he was in office. During his tenure as Japan's prime minister from the year 2021 to 2024, primarily stemming from the deeply entrenched faction. It was a factional system at that time within the Liberal Democratic Party, the LDP, and broader structural features of Japanese politics. The LDP factional system created a fundamental power structure where faction heads, as in the faction heads at that time, can become kingmakers based on their numerical strength. This system actually constrained Kishida's ability and capability to implement his agenda. And during that period, his victory came through that factional negotiation rather than commanding overwhelming support. This actually led to him having a dependency on those factional heads. Then maintaining the delicate coalition dynamics was also a factor at that time. Then next slide, please. On his skills and strategic competence, Fumio Kishida, Japan's former prime minister from 2021 to 2024, was widely known for his distinctive listening-first communication style that set him apart from many other political leaders. His approach emphasized several key characteristics. Kishida believed that listening to people is the starting point of trust and claimed to have the ability to listen better than anyone else. This wasn't just campaign. It formed the foundation of his leadership philosophy and political brand at that time. In handling organizational complex structures, Kishida's moderate and consensus-driven approach, which is well known for, has been criticized severally for lacking decisiveness in the face of pressing issues. While this approach sometimes drew criticism for perceived indecisiveness, it reflects his preference for building broad support within complex governmental and party structures rather than pursuing the top-down mandates. On the regional diplomacy with the Info Pacific Initiative, he announced Japan's new plan for a free and open Indo-Pacific during his visit to New Delhi in March 2023. This marked a significant evolution in Japan's regional diplomacy. The fundamental concept remains focused on enhancing connectivity in the Indo-Pacific region and fostering a place that values freedom, the rule of law, free from force or coercion. He had weak messaging and unclear policy results. His tenure as Japan's prime minister was marked by significant challenges in domestic messaging and policy clarity. Well, despite notable foreign policy achievements, this actually befell him at that time. His administration faced persistent low approval ratings and untimely led to his decision to step down in August 2024. Next slide. Now let's look at the disruptive approach of Macron side by side the stabilization approach of Kishida. Macron operates with a high centralized top-down approach that emphasizes personal authority and decision making. His leadership philosophy actually follows a never explain, never apologize approach, reflecting his confidence in executive decisions. He is known for his dynamic, then sometimes brash communication style and willingness to challenge established norms. Macron tends to position himself as a transformational leader who disrupts the traditional political structures, while Kishida represented a stark contrast of what Macron stood for, which is his consensus building approach. He emphasized that bottom-up consensus building is just as important in politics as a top-down approach, and was widely criticized as a consensus builder who worked to facilitate agreements between different factions that were on ground at that time. Well, Macron's style is more confrontational and transformational, whereas Kishida's style is more collaborative. He likes to bring people together and share ideas. And on the communication style and adaptability of Macron and Kishida, you will observe that Macron is known for his articulate, intellectual approach to communication. He represents leadership and vision for a lot of people, while some others see him as embodying hypocrisy and inaction. Then Kishida, on the other hand, has been described as even-keeled, mild-mannered, and personable, working steadily towards strengthening Japan's international security ties. Then on the adaptability, throughout his political career since taking over office in 2017, he positioned himself, I'm talking of Macron now, as a reformist leader, implementing policies aimed at modernizing France's economy and strengthening the European Union, while Kishida showed adaptability by announcing he would step down when his party picks a new leader in August 2024, which he actually did, recognizing his political realities that befell him at that time. Throughout his tenure, he demonstrated flexibility in foreign policy, balancing Japan's relationship and collaboration with the likes of the US, the China, and other regional partners, while adapting to geopolitical circumstances. The next slide, please. On the disruptive approach of Macron, let's look at Macron holistically. Macron's strategy involves building collaborations in educational, economics, and digital culture, notably in Africa, to combat colonial legacies and the French sentiment initiatives from the 2022 Francophonic Summit. It emphasized its increased support for French language in digital areas. Then, with regards to the political disruption, which he was known for when he came to power, Macron's election in 2017 caused a substantial disruption in French politics, upending the traditional party system and appealing to a centrist, which are the pro-European population. His discourse frequently emphasizes community action over individuals, exhibiting educational but abstract communication approach that differs from his predecessors. The downside of his approach, of his disruptive approach, as it were, is that critics say that his disruption covers transgression, causing public dissatisfaction and outrage, and it worsened social divisions, strengthening vertical power structures, which has contradicted his claims of horizontal and inclusive administration. I'll leave the presentation for my colleague here to.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Osagie Evie. We are going to be looking at Kishida Transformative Leadership Approach, a comparative perspective. Fumi Kishida, Japan Prime Minister, demonstrates a leadership style defined by empathy, culture, and consensus building, a sharp contrast to more confrontational global figure. He emphasizes empathic listening to build unity rather than assert dominance. While this reflects Japan's traditional policy culture, it also shows its personal commitment to inclusive long-term decision-making. Despite its cautious nature, Kishida has introduced transformative policy such as wealth redistribution, digital transformation, and green technology investments, quite but significant step towards a future-ready Japan. However, critique highlights its vague communication and slow policy implementation within institutional constraints, further limiting rapid change. To compare leadership style, we can apply John Arden action-centered leadership model, which include 1. Task, accomplishing goals, 2. Team, building group consensus, 3. Individual, supporting personal need. Under this model, Kishida is strong on team and individual. He builds consensus and leads with empathy, but is slower on task execution. Macron is construct is bold and effective in the tax area, driving reform like pension and digital policy, but weaker in team building and prioritizing on the individual level. In conclusion, Macron leads by disruption. Kishida leads by listening. Both demonstrate that effective leadership is not one size fits all, but rather a balance of personality, strategy, and contents. Thank you.